Reality is made of holons. Reality as a whole is not composed of things or processes, but of holons, composed, that is, of wholes that are simultaneously parts of other wholes with no upward or downward limit. To say that holons are process instead of things is in some ways true, but misses the essential point that processes themselves exist only within other processes. There are no things or processes, only holons. Since reality is not composed of wholes, and since it has no parts, since there are only wholes, parts, then this approach undercuts the traditional argument between atomism. All things are fundamentally isolated in individual wholes that interact only by chance, and holism. All things are merely strands or parts of the larger web or whole. Both of those views are absolutely incorrect. There are no wholes, and there are no parts. There are only whole parts. This approach also undercuts the argument between the materialist and idealist camps. Reality isn't composed of quarks or bootstrapping hadrons or subatomic exchange, but neither is it composed of ideas, symbols, or thoughts. It is composed of holons. There's an old joke about a king who goes to a wise person and asks, "How is it that Earth doesn't fall down?" The whisperer son replies, "The Earth is resting on a line." On what, then, is the lion resting? The lion is resting on an elephant. On what is the elephant resting? The elephant is resting on a turtle. On what is the... You can stop right there, Your Majesty. It's turtles all the way down. Holons are all the way down. Subatomic particles are, in a certain sense, which can only be defined rigorously in a relativistic quantum mechanic, nested inside each other. The point is that a physical particle, a renormalized particle, involves a bare particle and a huge tangle of virtual particles, inextricably wound together in a recursive mess. Every real particle's existence, therefore, involves the existence of infinitely many other particles contained in a virtual cloud which surrounds it as it propagates. And each of the virtual particles in the cloud, of course, also drags along its own virtual cloud, bubbles within bubbles, holons within holons, and so on ad infinitum. Hofstadter, Gödel, Escher, Bach. But it's also turtles all the way up. Take mathematics, for example. The notorious paradoxes in set theory. Cantor's, Burali, Fortes, Russell's, which among other things led to Tarski's theorem and Gödel's incompleteness theorem, placed mathematics in the irreversible, ever-expanding, no upper limit universe. The totality of sets cannot be the terminus of a well-defined generating process. For if it were, we could take all of what we had generated so far as a set and continue to generate still large universes. The totality of sets, mathematical holons, is an unconditioned or absolute totality, which for just that reason cannot be adequately conceived by the human mind, since the object of a normal conception can always be incorporated in a more inclusive totality. Moreover, the sets are arranged in a finite hierarchy, a holarchy that continues upwardly forever and must continue upwardly forever transfinitely, or mathematics comes to a screeching, self-contradictory halt. P. Edwards, The Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Even mathematics is set in time's arrow, and time's arrow is indefinitely, transfinitely holarchical. This is important for philosophy as well, and particularly for many of the New Age paradigms that now trumpet holism. Transfinite turtles all the way up means that the sum total of all the whole parts in the universe is not itself a whole, because the moment it becomes to be as a whole, that totality is merely a part of the very next moment's whole, which in turn is merely a part of the next, and so ad infinitum. This means that there is no place where we can rest and say the universe's basic principle is wholeness, nor, of course, can we say the basic principle is partness. This prevents us from ever saying that the principle of the whole rules the world, for it does not. Any whole part is a part indefinitely. Thus, holons within holons within holons means that the world is without foundation in either wholes or parts. And as for any sort of absolute reality in the spiritual sense, we will see that it is neither whole nor part, neither one nor many, but pure groundless emptiness, or radically non-dual spirit. This is important because it prevents a totalizing and dominating wholeness. Wholeness, this is a very dangerous concept. Dangerous for many reasons, not the least of which is that it is always available to be pushed into ideological ends. Whenever anybody talks of wholeness being the ultimate, then we must be very wary, because they are telling us that we are merely parts of their particular version of wholeness, and so we should be subservient to their vision. We are merely strands in their wonderful web. They like to engineer social utopias, these holists. This becomes all the more alarming when you simply ask them what is included in their wholeness, and you find out immediately that there are enormous numbers of things that they do not include in their version of the whole. Eco-feminists do not include the patriarchy in their whole. Most deep ecologists do not include meditative states in their ultimate wholeness. Eco-philosophers in general do not like industrialization, or farming for that matter, and so on. They may or may not be right. My point is that for people who claim to be embracing the whole, these theorists reject an awful lot of existence. In other words, since there is actually no such beast as the ultimate whole, it simply does not exist anywhere. Then those who peddle it have to give it content, not from reality, but solely from their own ideology. And then, since we are all defined as merely strands in their glorious web, a totalizing social agenda seems eminently reasonable. It is not beside the point that theorists as diverse as Habermas and Foucault have seen such totalizing agendas as the main modern enemy of the life world. I belabor this issue because it is extremely important to emphasize the indefiniteness of holacracy, its openness, its disifying, nesting nature, and actualization holacracy, not a dominated holacracy. And a dominated holacracy occurs precisely whenever any holon is established, not as a whole part, but as the whole. Period. Ultimate wholeness, this is the essence of dominator holacracies, pathological holacracies. Pure wholeness, this is the totalizing lie. For all these reasons, I usually refer to the sum total of events in the universe, not as the whole, which implies the ultimate priority of wholeness over partness, but as the all, which is the sum total of whole parts. And this sum total is not itself a whole, but a whole part. As soon as you think the all, your own thought has added yet another holon to the all, so that the first all is no longer the all, but merely part of the new all. And so off we go indefinitely, never arriving at that which we symbolize as the all, which is why it is never a whole, but an unending series of whole parts, with the series itself a whole part, and so on, trans-indefinitely, or trans-finitely. The Pythagoreans introduced the term cosmos, which we usually translate as cosmos, but the original meaning of cosmos was the pattern, nature, or process of all the domains of existence, from matter to math to theos, and not merely the physical universe, which is usually what both cosmos and the universe mean today. So I would like to reintroduce this term, cosmos. The cosmos contains the cosmos, or the physiosphere, the bios, or biosphere, nous, the noosphere, and theos, the theososphere, or divine domain, none of them being foundational. Even spirit shades into emptiness. So we can say, in short, the cosmos is composed of holons, all the way up, all the way down,